When you realize that your glow was never missing, only masked, a fire begins to rise inside you, quietly at first, like embers catching breath, and then fiercely, like a sun that refuses to dim for anyone. You don't need to chase validation when you become the source of your own light. The search for worth ends the moment you decide to stop looking outward and start activating what already lives within. You are not broken, you are not behind. You are a masterpiece in progress, sculpted by every tear you've wiped, every smile you've forced, and every time you've chosen to try again. That's where your power lives. That's the flame of your inner radiance. It doesn't matter what they said about you. It doesn't matter if they saw your magic or not. What matters is that you stop dimming your glow to fit inside spaces that were never designed to hold your brilliance. You've played small too long. You've folded your wings too many times to squeeze into comfort zones that only suffocate your expansion. But now is the moment you remember who you are, not a shadow of your past, but a beam of potential piercing through the now. The universe didn't put you here to hide. You were born to be a lighthouse in a stormy world. True radiance begins the moment you understand that you are the source. It's not something you have to earn, buy, or chase. It's already within you, quiet, powerful, and waiting to be activated. Too often, people believe they'll glow when they're finally loved, accepted, admired, or applauded. They think their light will shine once someone else tells them it's okay. But that mindset places your power in someone else's hands. It turns your worth into a negotiation, your beauty into a performance, and your confidence into a temporary state based on outside opinions. That's not real radiance. That's survival mode masked as confidence. Real inner radiance blooms when you realize that you don't need to be approved by anyone to feel whole. You glow the brightest when you stop asking for permission and start becoming your own source of light. When you seek constant validation from others, you're always at the mercy of someone else's moods, standards, or expectations. One day you're enough. The next day you're not. One moment you're praised. The next you're invisible. That kind of inconsistency fractures your self-worth. But when your validation comes from within, no one can take it from you. You learn to hold space for yourself, to admire your own growth, and to speak life into your own reflection. You become your own encourager, healer, and celebrator. You no longer wait for someone to say you matter because you say it to yourself every day. The shift is quiet but life-altering. You begin to move differently. You make decisions not out of fear of being disliked, but from a place of deep alignment. You say yes to what feels right in your spirit and no to what drains you, even if others don't understand. You stop bending, molding, and shrinking just to be accepted. You start expanding, glowing, and standing tall simply because you were never meant to be small. Your energy becomes magnetic, not because you're trying to be seen, but because you're finally seeing yourself clearly. When you own your inner light, you stop being performative. You don't fake joy. You create it. You don't wear confidence like a costume. You build it from the inside out. You no longer operate on surface-level validation. You are grounded in something deeper: self-trust, self-awareness, and self-love. That kind of light can't be dimmed even on your hard days. It's not dependent on mood or makeup or status. It's a glow that radiates from within because it's rooted in truth. You know who you are. You know what you bring, you know what you deserve. And you refuse to settle for less just to be liked. There's a quiet revolution that happens inside when you stop performing for approval. You reclaim all the energy you used to spend people-pleasing, comparing, and doubting. And you start investing that energy into your healing, your purpose, your passions. You start becoming the version of you that feels whole, not because of what you have, but because of how deeply you've chosen to love yourself. That's the spark. That's the light. And when it's lit from within, no one can blow it out. You are the source. You are the glow. You are enough as you are, and you always have been. The journey isn't about adding something to become radiant. It's about stripping away everything that ever made you forget your power. And once you tap into that truth, you'll never go back to chasing validation, because you'll realize the glow you were seeking was yours all along. Healing and authenticity are the foundation of true personal power. When you stop hiding your wounds and start honoring your journey, something powerful awakens within you. It's not about putting on a perfect face for the world. It's not about pretending you've always had it together. It's about getting real with yourself, about embracing every part of who you are, flaws, fears, and all, and deciding that you are still worthy of love, respect, and greatness. Authenticity means choosing truth over performance. It means allowing your humanity to exist in full view even when it's messy. And healing doesn't mean forgetting what happened or pretending it didn't hurt. It means facing it head on and deciding that it no longer has power over your future. That's where strength is born, not in the pretending, but in the revealing. People often mistake vulnerability for weakness. They think showing emotion makes them less powerful, but it's actually the opposite. When you are able to say, "This hurt me," or "I'm still growing through this," you're not breaking down, you're breaking free. You're letting go of the pressure to be perfect and stepping into the freedom of being real. And in that honesty, there's immense power. There's a peace that comes from knowing you're not living for anyone else's expectations. You're living in alignment with your truth. You become magnetic not because you're flawless, but because you're real. The world doesn't need another polished illusion. It needs people brave enough to be themselves fully, unapologetically, and out loud. Healing is not a destination, it's a practice. It's waking up every day and choosing not to let the past define you. It's allowing yourself to feel deeply without judgment. It's releasing the shame, the guilt, the fear, and replacing them with compassion, grace, and courage. Every step toward healing is a step toward power. Because when you heal, you rise, you speak with more clarity, you love with more freedom, you walk with more purpose. You're no longer carrying emotional baggage that weighs down your spirit. You're lighter, you're clearer, you're more connected to your own soul. Authenticity doesn't mean you share everything with everyone. It means what you do share is real. It means you're not hiding behind filters, behind masks, behind roles you've outgrown. You stop living for the applause and start living from your essence. And that shift changes everything. Your relationships become deeper. Your goals become more aligned. Your energy becomes contagious. Why? Because people feel safe in your presence. They feel seen. They feel inspired. Not because you're pretending to be someone you're not, but because you've found the courage to be exactly who you are. The road to authenticity requires healing, and the road to healing requires honesty. And when you walk both paths together, you become unstoppable. Your power is no longer conditional. It's not tied to how many people approve of you or how flawless your image appears. It's rooted in something unshakable: truth. And when you live in your truth, you start attracting what truly belongs to you: relationships, opportunities, peace. You stop chasing and start receiving. There is nothing more powerful than a person who has healed and chosen to live authentically, because that kind of person can't be manipulated by fear. They don't crumble under criticism. They don't shrink to be palatable. They stand rooted in their worth, glowing from the inside out. That's where your strength lives. Not in perfection, but in your healing, not in approval, but in your truth. And the more you embody that, the more the world begins to shift around you. Because when one person chooses to live honestly and love themselves fully, it gives others permission to do the same. That's power, that's purpose, that's inner radiance. You are not broken, you are evolving. That's a truth many forget in the midst of pain, confusion, or transformation. When things fall apart or when emotions feel too heavy, the first instinct is to believe something's wrong with you. That somehow your messiness is a flaw or your struggles are evidence of your inadequacy. But that couldn't be further from the truth. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to grow, to learn, to stretch beyond your limits, and to keep rising despite everything that tried to hold you down. You are not your mistakes. You are not your past. You are the version of yourself that chooses to rise again and again. Every tear you've cried, every challenge you've faced, every time you felt like giving up but didn't, that's proof of your evolution. That's your becoming. Growth doesn't always look graceful. Sometimes it's messy, uncomfortable, and filled with doubt. But that doesn't mean it's not progress. Healing often looks like uncertainty before it feels like strength, and transformation rarely comes without discomfort. You're shedding layers, letting go of identities that no longer serve you, releasing beliefs that kept you small. That's not failure. That's freedom. You were never meant to stay the same. You were designed to evolve. And the pain you've endured is not a punishment, it's a portal. It's guiding you toward your next level, toward the higher version of yourself who doesn't shrink to fit in, who doesn't fear being seen, and who knows her worth in every room she enters. When you stop judging yourself for where you are and start honoring your journey, everything changes. You begin to realize that your imperfections don't make you unworthy, they make you human. And in your humanness, there is beauty, there is strength, there is power. You stop seeing yourself as broken and start seeing yourself as becoming. Every scar becomes a symbol of survival. Every flaw becomes a part of your radiance. Because radiance doesn't come from perfection. It comes from authenticity. And nothing is more radiant than a soul that has walked through darkness and still chooses to shine. But stop shrinking to fit. You weren't made to be small. You weren't made to fit inside boxes that others created for you. You were made to expand, to stretch beyond the limits placed on you, to rise into the fullness of who you are. Shrinking is what you do when you forget your power. Shrinking is a habit born from trying to be accepted by people who were never capable of seeing your full value. But that chapter is done now. You're no longer trying to fit in where you don't belong. You're not folding yourself in half to make others comfortable. You're unfolding now. You're rising, you're stepping into the light that's been waiting for you to claim it. Every time you say no to something that no longer aligns, you're expanding. Every time you stand up for your truth, you're expanding. Every time you refuse to play small just to be liked, you're expanding. And the more you expand, the more your world does too. Opportunities find you. The right people gravitate toward you. The doors that once seemed shut start opening because you've stopped playing at the level of fear and started operating at the level of truth. That's what happens when you stop shrinking. You take up space, not with arrogance, but with authenticity. You allow your energy to be felt, your voice to be heard, your presence to be known. That's not ego, that's alignment, that's power, that's you stepping fully into the person you were always meant to be. And when you truly embody this, you stop chasing what isn't meant for you. You stop bending just to be chosen. You realize you are the chooser. You realize you were never behind. You were simply preparing. And now the preparation is over. The time of playing small is done. This is your season of rising, your season of expansion, your moment to take up all the space your spirit was born to hold. Protecting your energy is one of the most powerful forms of self-respect. The moment you begin to recognize your energy as sacred, your entire life begins to shift. You stop allowing just anyone to access your time, your heart, or your peace. Not everyone deserves your presence. Not every situation requires your response. And not every relationship is meant to stay. Your energy is your most valuable currency. It fuels your joy, your focus, your creativity, and your healing. If you give it away carelessly, you'll constantly feel depleted and disconnected. But when you choose to protect it intentionally, you begin to thrive. You start curating your environment in a way that supports your growth rather than drains it. You start walking away from chaos, gossip, comparison, and drama because you realize none of it serves your highest self. It's not selfish to protect your peace. It's survival. It's essential. It's what allows you to stay aligned and radiant in a world that constantly pulls you in every direction. Energy protection also means setting boundaries without guilt. It means saying no without apology. It means choosing rest over burnout and solitude over noise. You don't need to explain why you distance yourself from what drains you. That's your right. That's your right. That's your responsibility. And the stronger your boundaries become, the stronger your inner radiance grows. You begin to operate from overflow instead of exhaustion. You start creating from a full cup instead of a fractured soul. You glow brighter not because you're doing more, but because you finally stop giving your light to what doesn't reciprocate. Everything becomes intentional. The conversations you entertain, the content you consume, the places you go, the people you give access to, it's all chosen with care. You no longer give away your peace for the sake of keeping others comfortable. You're done abandoning yourself just to be accepted. Instead, you align with what energizes you, empowers you, and uplifts you. That kind of alignment creates unshakable inner peace, and peace is magnetic. Peace draws miracles. Peace multiplies. When you protect your energy, you protect your radiance, and that radiance becomes your superpower. You are the revolution you've been waiting for. Too often we wait for life to change, for someone to rescue us, for the world to finally see us. But what if the real shift happens when you decide to rise for yourself? What if you stopped waiting and started becoming? Because the truth is, no one can activate your light for you. No one can step into your power except you. And the moment you make that choice to stop waiting, to stop doubting, to stop shrinking, is the moment everything begins to change. You don't need to be discovered. You need to remember. Remember your strength. Remember your worth. Remember that your power lives inside you, not outside you. Becoming your own revolution means trusting your timing and believing in your journey even when it's unclear. It means letting go of the version of you that relied on approval, perfection, and fear. You evolve into someone who leads themselves. Someone who chooses growth over comfort, healing over avoidance, and authenticity over performance. You no longer look around and ask, when will it be my turn? You realize it's always been your turn. You just had to say yes to yourself. That decision alone is radical. It disrupts patterns, ends cycles, and starts new legacies. You show up differently when you know you are the revolution. You speak differently, you walk differently, you glow differently. And yes, it's a journey. You'll have moments where you forget, moments where old patterns whisper louder than your truth. But you'll also have moments where everything clicks, where you see yourself clearly, fully, beautifully, where you feel your power in your bones, where your inner radiance becomes so strong, it lights up every room you enter. You are not waiting for change anymore. You are the change, you are the source, you are the shift. And now the world gets to witness what happens when a person fully steps into the light they've always carried. When you begin to understand that you are already whole, everything about how you move through life changes. You no longer seek people, accomplishments, or external experiences to complete you. You realize that nothing outside of you can define your worth because your worth was never missing. It was simply waiting for you to claim it. So often we're conditioned to believe that love, success, or happiness will finally make us feel whole. That once we have the relationship, the title, the lifestyle, we'll finally feel fulfilled. But fulfillment doesn't work like that. Wholeness doesn't come from addition. It comes from recognition. It comes from remembering that you were never lacking. Everything you needed was always within. Your peace, your light, your confidence, they don't need to be installed. They need to be uncovered. When you live from the truth that you are whole, you stop chasing. You stop running after people who don't value you. You stop proving yourself to those who can't see your worth. You stop exhausting yourself trying to earn love that should have been given freely. You start choosing you. You start pouring into your own heart instead of waiting for someone else to do it. And from that place of fullness, you begin to attract differently. You no longer magnetize relationships rooted in neediness, desperation, or insecurity. You call in what aligns, because you're no longer a half looking for another half. You're whole, meeting life from a place of completeness. And that wholeness becomes your standard, your protection, your guiding compass. Living in wholeness also means understanding that nothing can complete you because you were never incomplete. That doesn't mean you won't desire beautiful connections or big dreams. It just means those things are additions, not requirements. They're reflections of your growth, not replacements for your value. When you finally internalize that truth, you stop waiting for life to give you permission to feel good about yourself. You start feeling good simply because you've decided to. You start creating joy instead of waiting for it. You start honoring yourself not because of what you've done, but simply because of who you are. And that level of self-acceptance is not arrogance, it's freedom. Wholeness also shifts the way you handle disappointment. Instead of seeing failure as proof that you're not good enough, you see it as a redirection. You stop internalizing rejection as a personal attack and begin seeing it as a form of divine protection. You don't crumble when things fall apart because your foundation is not external, it's internal. It's built on self-trust, self-compassion, and self-respect. You no longer place your peace in the hands of unstable circumstances. Your peace comes from knowing you've already arrived within yourself. You are already enough. You are already valuable. You are already radiant. And from that space, you begin to walk with different energy. You move with quiet confidence. You speak with clarity. You no longer try to impress. You simply express. You don't demand attention. You command respect. Your presence becomes powerful not because you're trying to be something, but because you're simply being you. There is no greater flex than showing up whole in a world that profits from your insecurity. There is no greater glow up than becoming someone who no longer waits to be chosen because you've already chosen yourself. When you realize you are whole, you stop breaking yourself into pieces to be digestible. You stop minimizing your light for the sake of fitting in. You stop silencing your voice just to avoid conflict. You are here to be all of you, not the edited, filtered, or watered-down version, but the full expression of your soul. And from that place, you become magnetic, because wholeness is rare, wholeness is powerful, wholeness is radiant, and it's been inside you all along. You just had to stop looking outward to remember it. You glow not because you try to, but because you choose to live from the inside out. That glow is a reflection of your decision to live in alignment with your truth, your peace, and your highest self. When you stop performing and start expressing, your energy changes. People can feel when you are living authentically, and they can sense when you're walking in your power. You don't have to announce your confidence, it enters the room before you. Your light speaks louder than your words ever could, and it's not about being loud or being seen, it's about being real. When you decide to live with intention, to nurture your peace, and to love yourself deeply, the world around you shifts. You no longer need to chase attention. You attract what reflects your worth because you've already anchored it within. Living aligned with your inner radiance is about becoming intentional with how you show up every single day. You start to understand that your presence is your power. The way you carry yourself, the way you treat others, and the way you respond to life are all extensions of how connected you are to your truth. Your glow doesn't come from a perfect life. It comes from choosing peace over chaos, healing over hiding, and authenticity over performance. The more you become yourself, the more you shine without trying. And when you show up for yourself in this way, you give others silent permission to do the same. When you live from your glow, you don't just walk into rooms, you shift the energy of them. Not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because your light can't be ignored. You radiate strength, softness, and truth all at once. You become a mirror, reflecting to others what is possible when you commit to healing and wholeness. Your glow is not just for show, it's an embodiment of your growth, your boundaries, your freedom. It's the way you breathe peace in tense situations. It's the way you stay grounded in storms. It's the way you keep choosing yourself even when it's hard. Your glow up is not just a new look, it's a new level of self-respect. It's when you walk away from what doesn't serve you, not because you hate it, but because you love yourself more. It's when you no longer explain your boundaries or your standards because your energy makes them clear. It's when you realize that being unbothered is a form of self-care and that peace is your greatest flex. Your glow up is not loud, it doesn't need to be. It's quiet, powerful, and undeniable. It's not in how many people admire you, it's in how deeply you admire yourself. You begin to attract what aligns with your glow. No more forcing, no more begging, no more settling. You don't chase anything because you understand what's meant for you flows to you. You're not looking for external things to validate your shine, you already know who you are. And because of that knowing, you magnetize opportunities, relationships, and experiences that mirror the love and power you've cultivated within. You live in a different frequency. You vibrate higher, not because you're above anyone, but because you've finally chosen to rise above what no longer resonates with who you are becoming. You become the embodiment of the light you once prayed for, not by accident, but by intention. Every decision to love yourself, every moment you chose to rise, every time you let go of what dimmed you, it all added up. Your glow is not an aesthetic. It's not temporary. It's a lifestyle. It's a standard. It's a declaration. You are no longer waiting for the world to recognize your light. You are living as if it's already known because now you know it. Now you own it. Now you shine, not for attention, but for impact. Not to impress, but to inspire. Because when one person dares to glow from within, it becomes a signal to others that they can too. And that is what makes you unstoppable.